Welcome to Inside City Hall, the show where we take a closer look at your city government through the lens of its boards and commissions. In this show, we'll meet the volunteer commissioners and board members who provide expertise and guidance in critical decision-making that affects our community. Journey with us as we take an insider's look into the legislative process. And in this episode, we're joined by members of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. Today, we're joined by Commissioner Dwayne Akins, Commissioner Corbin, and Director Nicholas Williams. Welcome to you all.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So first, let's get into what this department is. Director Williams, can you tell us a little bit about Parks, Recreation, and Youth Development as a department?
The Parks, Recreation, and Youth Development Department exists to create equitable access to parks and recreational programs and facilities throughout Oakland for all of Oaklanders. And so we have after-school programs, summer programs, we have aquatic programs, sports programs, cultural enrichment programs, programs for adults, seniors, and youth. Our primary focus is youth development, and so our primary focus for programming is for youth, but we have programs for all of Oaklanders.
And what does that look like? What does that look like as far as the actual programs that you have for youth versus the ones that you have for teens versus the ones that you have for adults?
We have a myriad of programs. We include summer camp, after school programs, enrichment programs. Again, we have sports programs both for adults who like to get out and compete. We have intramural programs, less competition, but we have a variety of sports programs for youth as well. And then we have cultural, artistic experiences. We have reintroduction to nature programs. And so everything that involves green space, outdoor space, reintroduction to nature. We have a robust swimming initiative, and then everything that happens in our summer programs and after school.
Excellent. So how does that tie into the commission itself? What are some of the work that you do on the commission, Commissioner Corbin?
So some of the work that we do is policy related, and so we are a volunteer organization of representatives of our community, and so any sort of park issues usually come before the board, anywhere from events, anywhere from the reestablishment of like a recreation center, the new buildings, anything that has to do with green space, nature within the city of Oakland, we have a say on it. And what's really important about that is for the community to have a say on it. So we're community representatives working alongside of the government. And what we also do is liaison work with the recreation center so we can have like on the ground knowledge of what our community members are dealing with and their needs and concerns. And we bring that to Parks and Recreation and hopefully work out a resolution. So that's a lot of our work is.
So you're actually bringing the community's voice to Director Williams and others within the department to help shape the department and how it moves forward?
That's correct. Definitely that. So listening to a lot of community members that are dealing with anything from, for instance, the homeless encampment issue to making sure that the parks are safe, providing accessible parks beyond proximity, but where people can actually produce their culture, whether that's barbecuing, whether that's praying, whether that is just enjoying a quiet time. Because it's such a shared space, we have to think about everybody, and we want to make sure that everybody has a space and a place to feel welcome at all of our parks in Oakland.
So then give me some specific issues or projects that you guys are working on right now, Commissioner Akins.
So when I got to the commission in 2017, it was really more so talking about re-engaging the RACs and that's the Recreation Advisory Councils for the specific parks. And so that looks totally different from the MPHCs that are sitting around.
MPHCs.
The neighborhood association groups that normally meet, and they pretty much most times meet at the recreation centers.
Okay.
But they're interested in making sure that their neighborhood parks are strong, and specifically the ones with recreation centers. For example, I'm now assigned to Rainbow, Brookdale, Arroyo, and Golden Gate Park. So part of my job is developing relationships with those parks. The easiest relationship to develop was obviously with Arroyo Park, because that's where I started most of my work in this space by being on the board of directors for Keep Oakland Beautiful. And that's how I ended up getting appointed to be on the commission based off of doing that work. And so the goal there is all the new faces that's moving into that community, to get them more so engaged, have more so like succession planning meetings. Me and Commissioner Corbin actually had the cool opportunity to pretty much develop a RAC toolkit so that we can have widgets, basically, so our commissioners can go out there and say, look, this is what this part looks like, this is what this part looks like, and just really being strong enough and passionate enough to connect people with the things that's going on in the city, let them know the resources that they have, the grant opportunities that some programs have to support. So really being a voice and a connector.
And it sounds like what you're doing is also finding the thread and keeping the continuity between the missions and the goals of the department and what the public is seeing. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Director Williams, can you tell us a little bit about how your role and staff members interact with the board?
So as the director of the department, it's my role to direct the internal staff. And so I serve as the liaison between the department and the PRAC commissioners. And so in those meetings, we talk about pre-planning, we talk about park rules, and then I share the thoughts and the direction that comes from the commissioners with staff, and then we direct the department to act accordingly to the rules and to the established protocols that we put together with the PRAC.
Right.
And how often do you all meet?
Once a month.
Excellent. All right, this is probably a good time for our first break. We'll have some more conversation with our commissioners as soon as we get back. We're back. Thanks for joining us. Once again, we are joined by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. In that last segment, we were talking about there were a few themes that came up about service and the roles that you all play. And it really got me to thinking about your volunteering. This is an unpaid position. Why did you get involved with this commission? I see you chuckling. Are you questioning your involvement at this point? What is it that actually drove you to be part of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission?
For me, I was laughing because I do a lot of volunteer work. I actually run a nonprofit organization, but I was on the board of directors for 6 years for Keep Oakland Beautiful. So I did my full term, and near halfway being done, I just finished the fellowship with Organizing for Action, which is under Barack Obama regime. So I was like, it got to be something else that I can do civically to get more insight, information. And I use the green spaces. So I was like, I love going to the parks. I'm always there. Why not contribute to the parks? And then seeing so many of the violent things and stuff that were going on in the park, especially Arroyo. I talk about that park a lot because I grew up down the street from it. And I work in education. And every time you cut on the TV, in recent years, you hear about some young person getting killed walking through the park, some body being found in the creek. So I really wanted to figure out ways to where I can engage the community on the next level instead of just going out there for Creek to Bay Day, Earth Day, and doing cleanup projects. But how can I represent my community, show individuals that look like me definitely that there's some of us that are here sitting at the table, we're communicating for you, and we want to model this for you so you can have the courage to do it too. And then lastly, Donald Trump actually got me fired up to get more engaged, because I feel like in cities and in our national government that we have a lot of folks that sit with power and they're not utilizing their voice to directly affect my community. So I wanted to be somebody that can definitely say, regardless to whatever happened at the end of the day, you will know that Dwayne Akins did something for you. I was valued, and I was working hard for you. So that's why I joined the commission.
Commissioner Corbin, what drives you to volunteer your time serving the people of Oakland in this way?
Well, I grew up in the DMV, which is like DC, Maryland, Virginia area, which a lot of our park spaces were free and accessible. The museums were free, and this idea of public space became so intimate in my growth. I'm a student at UC Berkeley. I'm a PhD candidate. I study race, class, and access to green space, and I've been an Oaklander since 2011 solidly, but since 2004, I've been between Oakland and Berkeley. And I just realized that I don't think I would be in the position I am getting a PhD if it wasn't for public spaces. They're educational, it's fun spaces, it's places where you can meet your neighbors and build community. It has all these things to it that a lot of people don't actually realize. It can bridge a lot of barriers. But programming is important and the funding is important. And so looking at Oakland and realizing that to go to the zoo it costs money, to go to the museum it costs money. I don't know where I would be being raised by a single mom in low income community if the economic barrier was there for me. And for that, I feel giving back, being a latchkey kid in the 80s, growing up in the recreation center. So for instance, I'm sporting my DeFemery shirt. So going there just reminds me of home. You know, you can just talk, you can have conversations, you see kids playing, and it's not only healing for me, you know, but it's something that I can do for my community. And that's why it became really important for me to not only volunteer, but give back to Oakland, a city that has done so much for me. And I kind of use this line that I was born and raised in the DMV, but I became an adult in Oakland. And that's pretty prideful for me.
So I heard you drop your shirt, and we talked about it earlier. So you want to let everyone see at home what you're wearing and tell us a little bit about it.
So DeFemery Park is a historical African-American park that the African-American community that came here during the South, during the World War II. Interesting enough, during all the World War II shipbuilding and everything that was going on in Richmond, the USO soldiers couldn't be there because of segregation. So the only places that they could actually cut a rug and enjoy themselves as officers serving our country was at DeFemery Park. Wow. And a lot of folks don't know that those USO soldiers actually opened the space for the Black Panthers to come in and do their work at DeFemery Park. So there's this really interesting history of park space, culture creation, green space creation in Oakland that I don't think a lot of folks know, but all of that history resides in the community. So if you just go out there and talk, you get a whole history lesson. And to support the park, we're actually selling t-shirts. So it's 2 for $25, I believe 1 for $15. It will go towards a lot of needs that need to be met for our kids like myself that are low income that could probably use help with scholarships, after school programs. And so this is part of the work, is also understanding that our parks need support, and we can be park prideful, and we can also fund it through these really interesting ways.
I love that. I'm gonna have to get my shirt.
Please.
Director Williams, you are not volunteering. This is not a committee that you sit on just for giggles. Tell me a little bit about your work with the commission and what you see as your connection as the director of the department in working directly with the commission and getting work done.
Well, the commission is vital to the forward progress of parks, recreation, youth development in Oakland. When we think about some of the ills that Oakland is facing as a community and as a society, and we think about what parks and recreation and youth development becomes for so many of our kids, it becomes a safe place. It becomes a place after school where I can get something to eat. It becomes a place where I can get assistance with my homework that I may be struggling with. It becomes a place where I can talk to my friends, where I can get actually the time and space to be a kid. And so the work that we do, the policies and the rules and the procedures that we put together to operate parks and recreation in Oakland is extremely important. My most memorable experiences growing up as a kid, were in Arroyo Park. My dad, I learned how to ride my bike in Arroyo. I learned how to hit a softball. I learned how to shoot a basket. I learned how to run from a dog. You know, everything at Arroyo Park. And so I know how important it is. And that was like super special time. And so when we go out to the recreation centers now and we see kids and they're laughing and playing and smiling and learning and engaging, learning tools that they will need to be productive citizens, then we know that we're doing the right work. And so it's my job to stay connected to the commission, to have to make sure that we have our ear to the community so that we can push forward programs that the community needs, and so that we're always an agency that is providing for the specific needs regionally and around our neighborhoods, and then collectively for Oakland as a whole. And so the commission is extremely important. There's a lot of work that goes along with this department, and we couldn't do it by ourselves. And so we're thankful to have the relationship with the commissioners. Thank you for your work. And so we love it. It's very rewarding. And if you go out to the recreation centers and you see the smiles on the kids' face, we know that that our work is meaningful and needed. We also provide opportunities for adults and seniors. This thing about nature and being in green space is so important. There's actually scientific medical data now that says that there's healing that takes place in green space. There's healing that takes place along the waterfront or in the woods. And so we want to make sure that these places are safe and accessible, because if you need to, everybody should have the opportunity to have this type of healing quality that happens in our natural spaces. Oakland is so unique. You can go to the water, it's very unique in inner city. You've got the Joaquin Miller, where you can oversee the skyline. So there's so much that it has to offer. And we want to make sure that our kids get to experience all of it.
Sounds like we need another T-shirt for every single park that we have. I already hear 2 votes for Arroyo having their own T-shirt. Right. And so next, can we get one for Diamond? That's my closest park. Okay. And then we'll do Joaquin Miller. That's another one I go to a lot.
Sign you up for the T-shirt.
Yes, sign me up for the T-shirts. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk to you guys just a little bit more. Thanks for watching. We're inside City Hall, and we are talking to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ivana Cáceres, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement with the Mayor's Office in the City of Oakland. I'm here to invite you to apply for our boards and commissions. We have about 35 of them, and we believe there's a board or commission for everyone, and we really want to make sure that our boards and commissions reflect the diversity of Oakland. So how do you apply? You head to our city's website, you'll see boards and commissions, click on that. That page will have a listing of all of our boards and commissions, and you'll be able to see what the requirements are, what the meeting times are, if there are any vacancies. Read through those, see which ones interest you, and you can apply for one of them by clicking on the green apply button, or you can apply for a few all at once. You'll be asked to submit your resume as well as a couple sentences of why you're interested, and then once you hit submit, we'll get the application and you'll get a confirmation that you've applied. It takes about 2 to 3 months for us to review the application. The review is handled by either the staff liaison to the board or the board chair or nominating committee, and they're just trying to see that your interests match up and also your qualifications match up with the requirements of the board. That then gets sent to the mayor and I. We prepare a letter of appointment, she'll sign it, and then the ultimate approval and vote is done by City Council. Then the City Clerk's office helps you get sworn in and sign any necessary paperwork. So we want to encourage you to apply. There is a board and commission for everyone. We definitely want people who want to help local government and believe in local government. Boards and commissions work on things that Oaklanders care about, whether it's libraries, parks. There are a number of boards that were created by voter mandates. For example, Measure H created the Sugar Sweetened Beverage Tax Advisory Board. Measure LL created the Police Commission. But ultimately, each board has its own unique set of requirements, and we're really seeking folks from all sorts of life experiences and backgrounds to be a part of each board. So again, we encourage you to apply, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to the mayor's office and myself. So we hope to see you and your application coming in, and then you'll be able to join the 300+ team of excellent volunteers for the City of Oakland.
Welcome back. I'm Autumn King, and once again, we are talking with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. So in the last segment, we were talking a great deal about your personal entrance into working with Parks and Rec. Tell me a little bit about the work that you do that services the actual individual Oakland people. How is your work servicing individual people in Oakland?
Well, I'll talk about just Commissioner Corbin, for example. I host my own independent summer camp, but I hit Commissioner Corbin up and I was like, I really want my summer campers to learn more about the commission, learn a little bit about the work that we do. Can you talk about this just environmental justice, because that's what she's getting her doctoral degree in, which is pretty cool. And also for kids to see somebody that looked like them, that's a woman, getting that degree from UC Berkeley. I thought that was pretty big. And at first I was like, these kids gonna be horrible, they not gonna really like this. But I mean, the pictures that they drew from her lesson was awesome, and they start looking at, when we're walking through communities going to parks, they start looking at them differently. Even with the homeless crisis that's going on, they was connecting things there. And yesterday I was at Rainbow Park working with Teen Oakland, and we also did an environmental justice urban planning lesson. So we literally walked from Seminary all the way up to 73rd to the, and just had a conversation about the community. What do you see? What don't you see? And they was like, we see a whole bunch of churches. I said, is anything wrong with that? One young lady said, the churches look beat up. Then I was like, okay, not good to say that about the churches, but it was a real thing to say. And then I said, what else you see? We don't have enough garbage cans. And I was like, okay, what else you see? I see a lot of litter. And then we got to Havens Court, and I said, look to the left, because we're on the opposite side of the school. And they said, this looked very suburban. And I was like, why is that? One of the kids actually jumped into tax bracket. And so we had like this really good conversation. Like, it was like, everything to the right is really dirty, but everything to the left when you go up that block looks really good. And I think they left feeling empowered and understanding more so why it's important to do the work of Teen Oakland and not just consider themselves just walking around picking up trash. And a true story, I graduated from Oakland Technical High School, and I remember some guys from UC Berkeley, they came to our econ and government class. And so they would come once a week, and we would walk to the MacArthur BART station, and we sketched out pictures and all that stuff that Corbin was doing this summer with the kids about what do a futuristic park look like. And we sketched those buildings that's coming up. And I was like, I wonder, is any of those guys that was in there talking to us, was they a part of that cohort of this whole big picture? And so when you really get to impact youth on a bigger level and let them know that, yes, you hear all these stories about gentrification, all these things, but if you equip yourself with the tools and the resources that you can be here in Oakland if you want to stay, and you can compete, and you can be a part of the change that's happening and have your feet and be a member of the stakeholder group. And when you see individuals, especially the young people, and they really can just hold on to that and remember what you say, and then you start seeing them practice and putting forth the effort and the energy, you're like, okay, this is why I do the work. This is where I'm going to go to a commission meeting. This is why I'm going to step up and help and do my part.
I like the fact that you called on your fellow commissioner outside of commission hours for other work that you're doing to help with the community. Is there a point of pride that you have that you can share with us that about your work through the commission, or that's maybe catapulted you into another area?
Well, I think one thing I could say is that being on the commission has given me some wiggle room to really think through ideas, and I like to employ like science fiction and Afrofuturism, and so the work that I did do with Commissioner Akins was I kind of fangirled it and brought all everything that I owned that was Black Panther. And what a lot of folks don't realize, it's like the first Afrocentric green city, you know, and it's very different from roots. It's not looking backwards, but it's looking forward, and it really gets people thinking about what does a socially and environmentally just future look like for Oakland. And so from all of this work, I've nerded out, and I've come up with this concept of JEDI, so environmental JEDI is what I call myself, and our commissioners here, which is environmental justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, because you need them all, right? So justice is looking backwards of all the atrocities and a lot of the environmental harms that has happened in the flats of Oakland, but that definitely needs to be recognized. So we need that. We need equity. We need to meet everybody where they are, making sure they have the right resources. We need to understand what diversity means in our park, because everybody gets down in their green spaces differently, and we need to make sure all of us are sharing this. And then inclusion, that means different mobilities, different wants, you know, having a multi-generational park system is very important. So when you bring that all together for environmental JEDIs, it's the environmental JEDI way, you know.
It's the JEDI way.
Yeah, and it's kind of a mind trick, because people can start talking about parks in a very fun, futuristic way, and we can actually like kind of break free from our past and look at what's possible in the future.
So how do we JEDI mind trick more folks into joining the commission? What is the route that people would take in order to join the commission?
I literally got a Facebook message like, here's all the list of the commissions, and it went directly to the Oakland website, and it listed all the commissions. You fill out one application, and you pick 3 commissions, and then based on what seat need filled, the mayor, I believe, she looks at all the applications, and she pick out the strong ones that will be good for here, and then you get appointed, and then your application goes in front of the city council, and they vote you in and approve you, and then you got to make sure that you're paying attention to your email so you can know what's going on.
Do you guys have any openings coming up soon that folks should be on the lookout for on your commission?
I believe we have a couple of openings. We did.
So folks can go to the website and look that up.
Definitely, but there's also another layer, which Commissioner Akins was talking about before, the Recreation Advisory Councils. So you can actually sign up and be a part of that. They meet different times each month. I would say check with the director at the park and see if one is not there, how you can get one started. But these are multi-layers, and I think it's really important for people to get in where they can fit in. So some of our community members can show up day of, and some of us can plan a whole year in advance, and we need to find all those spaces for connection, and to like grow our racks and grow our residents' connection to our parks.
And it's a good place to actually learn, like, because I came in with a community organizer lens, and I remember telling Corbin this. I was like, okay, wait, I'm learning how to connect policy with the community and put it together so you can learn how to treat each thing a little differently and be a little bit more open mind to how policy is supposed to be ran versus how you can just get up and say, I want to plan an event.
That leads me, I think it's a very good point, and what it leads me to wonder, Director Williams, is why should anyone care? Who cares? Why should those watching, our residents in Oakland, why should they care about this commission and how it functions with the department?
Well, the commission is very important, like we said earlier, on how the department thinks about the future and how we can serve, equitably serve the citizens of Oakland. Parks and Recreation is the heart and soul of the city. It belongs to everybody. It's the place where everybody can be and can be respected and can enjoy themselves, can heal from the natural elements of being outside, can be physically fit and be on a health plan with physical activities and programs that happen throughout the recreation center. But it's the place where everyone is welcome and everyone should be included. And so we want to make sure, as Commissioner Corbin said, that the services that we provide include everyone. We want to be fully inclusive. We never want anybody to leave the park not feeling like they're a part or not feeling like they're wanted. The Parks and Rec in Oakland is, again, the heart and soul of the city, and it's what brings the city together. It's where we can come together and be whoever we are individually, but we can be that collectively.
I like that. We can come together individually to form a collective, the heart and soul of Oakland. Thank you all for being here. You guys have been wonderful in sharing your time with as commissioners, and thank you for sharing your time with our audience today.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of Inside City Hall. We thank you guys for watching, and we look forward to you joining us for the next episode. I'm Autumn King. Thank you.